Hey, what is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am stoked for today. We finally got in all of our Heim joints for our suspension on the FJ40. So we got front and rear, everything to do, a 3-link front and 4-link rear. I am stoked. Let's get right into this one. We got 2 boxes here packed full of the best rod ends on the market today. These things are bulletproof. These things are badass. Let's open them up, let's check them out, and let's have a little talk about them. Well, there it is, guys. We got the Summit Machine Heim joints. These aren't even really a Heim joint. This is more of a billet rod end, way beefier than your average Heim joint. Now, I do want to give a warm welcome to Summit Machine. They are actually a sponsor now of the channel. They helped me out on these joints, and we got some more amazing products from them coming once we figure out our suspension. So I am stoked. Now let's talk about these joints real quick. Now, when you guys go on the website and check these out, you see the price tag, you're gonna go, wow, these are a little more expensive than your average Heim joint. Now, the reason for that is these are 100% rebuildable. You can see that whole ring comes off, and they actually send you a tool too right here. So basically, this joint is 100% rebuildable, and you can rebuild this for about 12 bucks. And a lot of the customers have been getting like 15 to some of them. Obviously, it depends on how you drive the thing, how you maintain it, but some people are actually getting over 100,000 miles out of these joints, which is completely unheard of for any other Heim joint. These things are beefy. So that's enough chatting. If you guys want to check any of this stuff out, I'll have it all linked down in the description, but we need to get to work. We have a ton of work ahead of us. I think we're gonna start with the front today. So we are doing a 3-link in the front. Now this is gonna be a little bit tricky, and I know you guys are probably gonna be curious. So I'm just gonna tell you right up front, we're not doing DOM, we're doing something else. So what we're gonna do is basically mock everything up. We're gonna run to Home Depot. I'm gonna try to find some PVC or something that would fit nice and snug over these rod ends. That way we can basically use that as our link bars, and we can basically build the whole suspension with PVC. That way we can cycle everything, we can make sure everything clears, we can like I said, we can flex the whole suspension out, and then once we get everything dialed in with PVC, we know our exact rod lengths, then we can go through and order up our rods. So that is the game plan. I'm not even gonna start on the truck right now. I'm gonna run to the hardware store because there's not much we can do without our link bars, or at least something to mock them up with. So that's the game plan. I'm going to Home Depot. I'm gonna try to find some PVC, and then once we get home, we'll roll the axle underneath, and we'll start figuring out where we want to mount all of our links. Before we start building brackets and links for this suspension, I want to just take some time, and I want to make sure I get the axle exactly where I want it. So I got the fender back on, and I'm going through making sure I like the way it looks, making sure that I like the way it fits. And I'm going to use this laser to make sure the axle center side to side and front and back nice and straight. So that's the easiest way to do it. I got marks on the frame, on the front and the back of the frame, and then on each frame rail to make sure the axle is square to the chassis. And I'm just going to take my laser and laser up a line, and I'll use that for reference to make sure this axle is perfectly where I want it, and then we can start building some brackets. All right, guys, I have spent literally all day on this thing, and I haven't done anything yet, it looks like. What I've basically been doing is I got a link calculator up on the computer, and I've been trying to find the best way to get everything set up to where I have the best numbers for like the anti-squat, anti-dive, and the roll center, roll axis, all that good stuff. So here is the calculator. If you're not familiar with this, there's a few videos showing how to use it. I'm not going to go in depth, but real quick, you just enter your wheelbase, tire diameter, center of gravity, your weight, and then all these numbers for your links. So I've been playing with these seriously all day, probably like 6 hours now, and you basically want to find an anti-squat. They say 75 to 100% is pretty good for what we're going for, and then as close to 0 roll axis angle as you can get. And then there's also the roll center, basically a percentage of the roll center height, and then your center of gravity up here. I'm about 70% right now. They say, I was looking at this video here from Busted Knuckle right here, 60 to 80% he says mixed use trail rig. So that's pretty much what we're going for. Something that you can kind of mob around. It's not a strict rock crawler. So we are at about 70%. We're at 1 degree of roll axis angle. So I am completely happy with that. And the only way to really drop this roll axis angle down is to lower the lower link down off the frame. It's already lower than I wanted, so I don't want to drop that anymore. So there's always a little bit of compromise when you're setting up a link suspension, whether you want, you know, ground clearance versus, you know, roll angle, roll axis angle, all that good stuff, anti-squat. So I'm happy with what we got. What I'm basically going to do now is I'm going to take all these numbers, and that's how I'm going to build my mounts in order to place the links in the right spot. So I actually do have these brackets here. These are from Moto Built. I was on their website. I needed these to get free shipping, honestly. That's why I bought them. So they fit really good. You can see it's cut out like that, so it fits down in here. I probably have to trim it a little bit for my truss. I'm still got to get the truss on, and I'll have to do a little bit of trimming there. I might be able to tie that into the truss, but we're basically going to rotate these to where we get the right number, right height off the ground. And then we'll start building our lower links. We got to figure out link mounts on the back. We got to get our truss on. I want to tack it into place for now. I'll probably end up cutting the tacks off, but get the truss tacked into place. That way we can build our upper link mount off the top of that truss. Well, we got the tower figured out for the axle. Now we're trying to figure out this frame mount, and we are back to the narrow frame rail problem. So originally I was going to mount my link right there. It looks all fine and dandy until you try to pull the bolt out, and it's right in the way of the pan on the tranny. So what I'm going to try to do is I might try to lengthen my lower links out to about here, and then lengthen my upper link to here. I can always move that mount back and kind of make a different tower to shorten up my upper link if I want to. But if I move it back to about here and trim my bolt as short as I can go and tuck this thing in to the frame as much as I can, I think we can make it clear. All right, we got this bolt cut, and there's no way it's gonna fit. There's no way we're gonna be able to mount it up right against that pan there. So we have two options. We can come back here, or we can go up here. Up here we get about a 28-inch arm length. That is way too short in my opinion. Back here we're about 40 inches, and I lengthened my lower links to 40 inches as well. So we got 40 lower, 40 inch upper. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Now, longer links are better. The only downside is they just tend to hang farther down from the frame. They're easier to bend, but the suspension geometry is a lot better with longer links. So I think that's a game plan. We're going to build up a mount for right here, and then lower links right about there, and we should be set up. A 40-inch is a little bit longer than I wanted, but when it comes to packaging, you kind of just got to do what you got to do. This side is out of the question because we got the drive line right there, so we're not going to be able to put upper link there. All right, guys, we got all of our mounts in. We just tacked these ones on. This one I'm gonna tie into our upper link mount. The other one over there, it's kind of, we gotta take these back off anyway, but I want to make a little bit of bracing on the backside, a little gusset, but we got the mounts in. Now I want to talk about real quick a little issue with these FJs with the frame. So the straight section of the frame right here, you can see is very short, and I can't really get much separation on my arms on, we're talking about the lift here, to lift this thing up. And you can see they are right in the way where my links have to go, so I can't even put my links in. What I've thought about doing, and I think I might do it right now, is I want to be able to extend this arm out this way and be able to lift up here, but I don't trust it having lifting on that angle. So I think what I want to do is make a little standoff plate that comes out like this a little bit and then up, just to give it a nice flat ledge to sit on. I know it sounds kind of ghetto, but this thing, honestly, with this lift, with these arms so close together, it's kind of sketchy on the lift. And like I said, I don't even know how I'm going to get it on the lift anymore once I have my link bars in. So I don't think it's going to affect anything really. I mean, it's out of the way. There's nothing that's going to mount underneath the frame here. So I'm going to make, like I said, just a little bit of a shelf there, maybe like 4 or 5 inches, just so we get a nice flat area for that pad to sit on. And that we should be able to put our links on, and it's going to be way more stable on the lift. Right, guys, we are making progress. This thing is looking good. We got all of our links in and everything so far looks like it's gonna clear. Now I still gotta figure out how the hell I'm going to flex this thing, because my lift arm has to go in between the frame and the link. Obviously, I can't lift this tire up because the link is gonna hit the arm. What I may have to do is pull the arm off, jack this side up, and then put the arm back in for when I just flex test it. But we got other stuff to worry about right now. We got to get all the steering on. I want to mock up steering arms with some more of the PVC, and then I want to get the box on, get all that set, and then we got to build the track bar. The track bar is probably going to be the hardest part of this entire job, just because, like I said previously in other videos, I got the tie rod, I got the drag link, and I got the track bar right all in this spot. Plus I'm using the FJ80 steering box right there, which swings forward. So the box is going to be here, arms coming out this way to the tie rod and everything. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but either way, let's grab those high steer arms that we made, get those bolted onto the spindles, and start cutting up some PVC and getting all of our steering kind of mocked up. Well guys, this was definitely as challenging as I thought it was gonna be. You can see just how tight this thing is. Now this is at full bump right now. This is as far up as the suspension will ever go. The steering box is hitting and the truss is hitting the frame, or just about, it's about a 1/4 inch there. So we are at full stuff. So this thing, you can see we got the bracket hitting the cover right here, and then we also have, we notched this bracket out for the steering arm, which this was tricky. You can see just how close that arm is at full lock right there. It is pretty much touching that mount. So it was a little bit tricky, but I think we got it, and I think it's going to be strong enough. This is plated. This is all welded to the frame here, and here this plate on the double shear side down there is going to be welded to the frame. We got a plate here welded to the frame, and then I may do one more gusset inside of here, just straight down, welded on both sides, welded to the frame. Tomorrow we got to get out, make our link, and then make our lower mount here. This one, I'm gonna have to try to make this as far outboard as I can, so it's probably gonna end up right around this area right here, just to get enough length. It should be about 85% of the drag link length, which they say you want to be within 80. 85, I'm happy with that. So obviously the problem is I can't outboard this mount. That's why we had to come inside, because when you turn this steering the other way, obviously the mount would have to be way out here, which to make a bracket come way out here, I feel like is just not that strong. So to keep our strength, we're here, and then we're going to go as far out as we can on this side. Well guys, you gotta love fabrication. There's always one thing that you forget to check. Now I built this lower track bar mount with this wheel at full lock this way, just so I had clearance here, which I was just able to get enough clearance. But I didn't realize that the tie rod actually changes angle when you're turning it. So I know it's probably not a big deal. It's probably not gonna matter. But you really want at ride height, which we are really close to ride height here, you want the drag link and the panhard bar or the track bar at the same angle, and it's about 1 degree off. Like I said, it's probably not going to matter, but I do want to fix it because it's not that much in steel. I already have the files. I can just adjust the files real quick, and I can bump that up. Let's rebuild this thing about 1/2 inch taller, and we'll have just more clearance, and I think it's just going to work better in the long run. All right, we got this thing flexed out and nothing has bound up yet, except I just need to lift the FJ more, but it's a little sketchy right now. I only got the rear lift on the rear arms on the lift, the front sitting on jack stands, just so I could actually move these links around, but we are pretty much stuffed up here. I can move this box a little bit farther forward and we'll get maybe another inch or so of up travel, but the problem I'm seeing right now is that yoke is pretty much right underneath the frame right there. So I don't know, we're gonna have to do something with that frame just to make some room for a drive shaft, but other than that, we're looking really good. We are clearing everywhere. I turned it both ways and we are good to go. There's one thing that I do need to clearance is this upper motor mount. When I flex the other way, this upper rod hits that motor mount. So I'm just gonna do a little notch out of that mount and clear that. But I'm gonna try just pulling the upper link off and seeing if I can get it to flex that way. I do wanna get this other side up just so we can make sure everything else is clearing on that side. All right guys, great success. We got this thing flexed out this way. When I'm flexed, the upper link clears, but when I'm at full compression, when I just bring the axle all the way up square, it definitely hits that motor mount. So I'm still gonna notch that out. I turn this thing both ways. We are clearing, we got all our clearances there. You see about 1/4 inch there. Everything over in this realm is looking really good. So we are set up. I think this is gonna work. The only issue I see is when I flex the other way, the pinion is even more into the frame. I was kind of hoping that the pinion would at least stay somewhat where it was, in line vertically. So we got to find a workaround for that. I don't know, I might have to rebuild a section of this frame. The good thing is this frame does come in like this and then it kind of straightens out. If I just take this angle and kind of angle it out here and come out and then back straight back into the frame, back farther towards the middle of the truck, we'll definitely have our clearance. Well, like I said, we got to figure out something with this frame, and also like I said, we are doing something other than DOM links. So we got all of our lengths now, but I want to do the same links on the rear. So now we got to jump on the rear, get the rear end figured out. We're doing a 4-link in the rear, so it should be a little bit easier. We don't have to worry about steering and the panhard and all that. We just got 4 links, which honestly is probably going to be a lot faster to set up. And then once we get all of our links for the back measured out, then we can order all of our links in. And I think I'm actually going to do the same links for my panhard and my steering as well, just because, I don't know, it's cool, it's awesome, and I'm so excited to show you guys what we're doing. But either way, I am gonna wrap this one up. This video took way too long. I spent probably 2 weeks on this front end, just getting it dialed in. I've had to rebuild a few things, but everything clears. It's very, very close, but everything clears except driveline to frame. So I was really hoping that axle would move the other way. I was hoping it'd move inboard when you flex up, but we got to figure out a way around that. I'm not at this point. I've already got everything built for this axle. I am not going to shorten this axle. I would have to rebuild all my steering, my truss, everything I've built for this axle. I would have to rebuild. So we're not doing that. We're going to figure out a way to clear the driveline to the frame. And once that's done, then we should be good. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Why don't you go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.